Take a look at this position. Black to move. Tell me, will you castle? Welcome to Between Two Rooks. First of all, let me tell you that this video is inspired by a comment I received under a position to my chessable course from making moves to making plans. You can check it out using the link down below. The course is about strategy and how to finally start making plans. If your rating is somewhere below 1500 points, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be interested to learn how to make strategic plans and how to stop asking yourself a question, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna be responding to all those questions in the comments to the Chessable course or in my YouTube videos, starting with this one. So that's the question I received. You can check this out. So now let's get started on our topic of when not to castle. First of all, castling means putting your king to safety, and that's one of the 3 things you must do in the opening. But castling doesn't really mean king safety all the time. And there are 2 situations when you want to avoid castling. And the first one is, of course, castling under the attack. So castling is like putting your king into castle, and if you put your king out in the open field because your pawn structure is ruined, it's not really castling, right? It's really getting your king killed right in the open field. Or maybe your pawn structure is intact, but your pieces are too far away to help your king. Or maybe your opponent is already building an army and aiming to target your king, and everything is looking at the side where your king is about to castle. In those situations, you want to think twice before actually making the magic move. Let me show you a couple of examples. Let's take a look at this position first. It's white to move, and of course you can already castle alongside because everything is open there, it's legal to castle. But do you really want to? If you castle here, you're gonna get checkmated in one move because both the black pieces are already aiming the pawn on b2, and now they could just take it, and that's checkmate. And you can't believe how many people actually blunder this and they castle just because it's already open and they can do it. So please make sure to look at your opponent's pieces and make sure your pieces are protecting your king enough. So the wisest thing to do here would be to actually play pawn c3, blocking the bishop, and then developing your pieces on the king side to castle your king there. Meanwhile, it will be the safest to have your king in the center. Or another example, here the pieces are already developed, so you can castle short side, but those pawns look like good defenders. In reality, they do nothing. So after you castle, you're gonna get a Greek gift sacrifice, like this, check, and queen to h5. Queen h7 is practically unstoppable. Even if you try to move your rook away, you're gonna lose this pawn and then you're still gonna get checkmated. In other words, if you castle to a side where your king is not safe at all, the position is gonna look something like this and you're gonna just get checkmated. So if the side that you're about to castle to doesn't look safe, there is not enough defense, or the pawn structure is ruined, or your opponent's pieces are already looking at that side, reconsider your decision and maybe keep your king in the center for a little while you're preparing to castle to a different side, if that makes sense. And the second situation where you may want to reconsider castling is the endgame. For instance, in the opening and the middle game, the king is kind of frightened to get out or stay in the center because it's afraid to get checkmated. In the endgame, however, if there is no threat of being checkmated, the king could still stay in the center and control more squares and help his pieces. You can check out the video I made about the king's role in the endgame to understand the topic better. But let me show you an example. That was the game that I played against my student, and he was black here, and without thinking for a second, he castled right away. But check out what he did a couple of moves later. First, he developed his bishop, and after that, of course, he moved his rook. Then he moved his king, and he moved his king again to the center. So he spent 4 moves. First he castled, then he moved his rook, then he moved his king twice to get it to the center. And that was such a waste of time because he could have played king to e7 right away, and then he could have brought his rook to the center. I hope that makes sense because you don't want to waste time putting your king to the corner and then bringing it back to center in the endgame. You just can't keep it there. That's what Capablanca did in this position. He was black, and instead of trying to develop its bishop and castle to short side, or castle into long side in this position because the c file is the only open file, he played king to d7, helping his pieces in the future fight for the c file and doubling his rooks up over there in the future as well, without wasting any time. And he ended up winning the game. And now let me show you 4 positions where you need to decide whether to keep your king in the center or what side to castle to. Please write your answers in the comments down below, and I'm going to respond to them and tell you whether you were right in your assumptions or not. And also feel free to ask any questions regarding any position that you see in this video. So let's get started. That's all for today. Thank you for watching and see you in next videos.